be doing this a little bit different today. And it's actually because of the song playing. Last minute pivot. So I'm gonna wait for some of you to come in. And I have music, so there's no rush. Hi. Also, if I flinch, I have a puppy at my feet and a kitty floating around somewhere. They might be like background entertainment. Hi. Manchester. Oh, see, there's Billy. If they get in a fight, we're gonna try to stay focused. First live ever, yay! We're in my house today, so you get to see all my little minions. Thank you. Canada, Canada, Essex, Michigan. The topic today, we're gonna pivot. I'll do a little spill, but this song changed my day. So if y'all are okay with the pivot today, we're gonna be a little bit more in our feels. Hi from Mexico, hi. My boyfriend's from Mexico. New York, Canada, Slovenia. We might be in a different day there. Ireland. Oh, it's so good to see you all. Switzerland. Sylvia, we met in 2021. I do remember you. From Switzerland, yes. Montana, I love it. Australia. All right. Long Island, okay. So, like I said, I was going to do our typical Q&A, but if you notice, I didn't even put it up in the title today. I was walking at the ocean, and like randomly, you know how we love cosmic winks here. So that's going to be the feel today. So if that's not your jam, you just like all the science, then go check out my master classes, and this will be for those of us that like kind of the poetry part of this medicine. So I was walking, and it's been kind of an emotional week, and I feel like it's been not just a heavy week, but a transformative week for so many people. A friend of mine, family, just so many things going on this week with big heart presence. And so today I was like picking out questions to answer that kind of pertain to the heart, because I just felt that even in me. And I wanted to honor that, because I know that if I'm in the space of alignment, that you get more from me than if I'm going to try to force it just to answer questions. So that's the reason behind the pivot today. But there's a song that popped on when I was, I had a beautiful morning walking back from the ocean, and just spent time in silence and was wanting the right words for a friend, and actually found the right words for me at the same time. And I think that's beautiful how life often does that. But the song that I wanted to start with today, I'm gonna pull it up. It's called Just Like North by Angie McMahon. And I'm actually gonna read the lyrics, because this is what we're gonna talk about today, because that's where my heart is, okay? But I think if you are going through anything challenging, if you're healing your body, if you're frustrated, if you're here, if you're one of those that is trying to find clarity, trying to find certainty, trying to make sure you do the right thing, trying to make sure you don't make mistakes, trying to make sure that you're the best human that you can be, the best parent, the best sibling, the best friend, the best partner, the best spouse, the best whatever, I really would encourage you to listen to what I'm about to read, and then maybe even stay for this conversation. Again, totally different jam this week. We'll talk about master classes and all of that. I love it, but that's the practicality piece. Do that, honor that, live that, because your body responds to it. This is the poetry, and the poetry governs so much of your chemistry, so much of your physiology, and that's going to get the microphone today. So this is kind of what you're feeling more on my subscription page. This is the kind of conversations we have more over there, but I just felt called to do it here with you guys today. So these lyrics. Are you ready? All right, so bear with me. I'm just going to literally read through a song because I think it's worth it. This season is for going back to the sea, where nothing is certain, to rinse off old parts of me, toweling my clean skin, powerful washing away. I always want outlines. I head for the shore, beg for the road signs that I had before. But that wasn't joy, amnesia. Babe, that was pain. And pain will be on every map, just like North is. And pain will be in every year, just like August. And if you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. I love that so much. Remember that magical thing that you found that said, from this point forth, I am sticking around. I am coming with you. I'm going to show up in your shape. You can pick your grace out of the crowd. You've done it before, and it made you so loud. Then it taught you that lesson about breathing, babe, when it failed. Failure is on every map, just like North is. Failure is in every year, just like August. You had to be ugly before you were gorgeous, balancing tiger with rhythm of tortoise. Here in your chest, chest, chest. You're not gonna blow it, 'cause slowness is calling. You don't have to know where your feet will be falling. If you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. If you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. Whew. There were so many parts about that just hit. And I sent it to my friend, and it's one of those, I like to send songs to my people. If you're one of my people, you know. It's like a love language of mine. And I love being sent songs, so if you want to send me songs, feel free. That's what we do for our dance parties too. But I want to go back and visit some of these lyrics that I really want to make sure sink into you. And then after this, you could do it now if you're like piecing out. Go listen to this song with the actual vibration and the music and the totality of it. It does something, and I felt it, and I hope you'll feel it too. But let's go back and look at it. So when you look at this, what if you could look at your life in this way? That pain would be on every map, just like North is. And pain would be in every year, just like August. So what if you could look at your failures? What if you could look at pain? What if you could look at symptoms? What if you could look at heartbreak as detached and guaranteed as knowing that North would be on a map, instead of raging against it and thinking that something is wrong with your map because North is on it? And would that change your experience of where you are now? With whatever scenario you've got, we've all got something going on. Like I said, it's been a heavy week for me. It's been a heavy week for my friends. It's been a heavy week for my family. And heavy in a lot of different ways. Some was emotional, some was relational, some was physical. It has its different flavors. So whatever that is for you, can you see it as an integral part of your map? Can you look at those symptoms in your body as something trying to point the arrow towards the next place that you are going to visit or journey to? Remember, it's not the destination. Healing has nothing to do about the destination. And it's more of the experiencing of the journey, of why it touches that. Like, why are we even here? Like, what's the point? And if you're here and you think that you're supposed to be here without symptoms, you think you're supposed to be here without wounds, you think you're supposed to be here without traumas, you think you're supposed to be here without challenges, you think you're supposed to be here without things quote unquote going wrong, then that is going to flavor your entire experience, and it's going to change how you look at that journey that's on your map. And if you could change the way you look at it, I think David White even has a beautiful quote. I don't have it here with me, so it's not verbatim, but it's something like, I wish somebody would have told me that life was going to break my heart. And if you looked at these things in this way, if you could change your perspective on life and not look at it as like, life is coming at me, my body is attacking me, my past is still in my present, destroying everything and potentially disrupting my future. But no, you are where you are because you have to be there. And the way you might get a say, this is a bigger conversation, but in the dancing of where you're gonna go, But what it's going to require is for you to let go of responding to the directions, as some are good and some are bad. It's north, south, east, west, and then the spectrum of everything in that full circle. And none of them are wrong. None of them are wrong. Can you change the way that you look at it? Can you change the way you experience it? We've been talking in these past Q&As so much about how you feel changes your chemistry. How you feel changes your blood. It matters. So it matters how you experience what you're experiencing. It matters how you look at when your heart gets broken. It matters your interpretation of everything you experience. And we can't change what happens to us, but we can change how we experience it. We can change on the other side of it what we go and extract from it. I talked last week on the subscription page about me having to consciously go back and re-look at those events of my car accident. And instead of being angry at it, instead of being mad at everything went down, I had to go back, survey it all again, and go extract the good from it, so that that could be what I took forward. Instead of saying that whole thing was wrong, it wasn't fair, all of these things happened to me, poor me. No, it happened. So many things led up to it happening. And then so many things happened and transpired after because it happened. And if you can look at your life in this way, would it change how you looked at your symptoms? Would it change how you looked at a conflict in your relationships? Would it change how you looked at your childhood and maybe something that happened, or how you were raised, or the circumstances that you were given? If you could look at it as a map, if you could look at it as a map and know that, what if north was pain? Would you want a map that never had north? What would that look like? Like, think about it. Like, really put that into your life, because it changes you. And if you can change how you experience, we're just going to stay in the world of medicine because I think that's why you're here. A little bit of heart, soul, and spirit too, right? It all touches. But if you're looking at your body as wrong, how can anything that you experience be a positive influence, a positive input into your biochemical makeup? How is that even possible? And so where can you change from this day moving forward? I'm going to look at the truth of it. And remember, this is not a bubble of wishful thinking. This is a bubble of practicality. This is a bubble of, look at what you have proof of. You have been given so much evidence to go against everything that mainstream media, mainstream business, mainstream medicine is saying. If it were true that your body was out to kill you, how would any of us be here? It knows how to do it quicker than anything. So what if pain were just as essential, just as vital as pleasure? What if all of it was required for the totality of the journey that you're on here? And could you change your mindset about how it feels to go through those pain point times, to go through those times of increased symptoms? It's not fun. Nobody's saying it's fun, and nobody's saying it's your fault, but it is your opportunity to change how you experience it. Because you can have two people experience the exact same thing, and they are going to interpret it differently biochemically. And so much of that has to do with how they were raised, what they believe in, how they think, their state that day, their support system, their relationships. And that's why, again, in this bubble, you have to know that it all matters. Your entire life is medicating you. Everything that has happened up until this point is what is dancing and literally becoming the fabric of your cells and your tissues. And the beautiful thing is you get to change it from this breath moving forward. And even if you latch onto one more beautiful idea, like something like the lyrics of this song, what if you looked at pain as something that was just as guaranteed as north? Does it feel different? Can you take the pressure off of, am I going to mess up? Am I going to make the wrong decision? Am I going to choose allopathic over natural? Well, guess what? Your body that's actually doing the healing is what's making you survive while you're in that state of indecision. It knows exactly what it's doing, while your mind and your psychology is having a hard time trying to pick so that you don't mess up, so that you don't experience pain, so that you, and then you get in that cycle. So the only thing I wanted to talk about today was exactly this. And some of y'all that are just joining, it's a song that I've heard of her before, and ironically, she was one of the songs that I heard right after my accident. She has another song that's just beautiful. I'll put that one up too. But this song is called Just Like North, and the artist is Angie McMahon, and I will tag it, post it, copy and paste it, and put it up, link it, all of the things so that you have access to it. But the gist of it, and where we're focused on right now, are the lyrics of this. The chorus was what we just touched on. And pain will be on every map, just like North is. And pain will be in every year, just like August. And if you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. And to feel that, to experience that, and then put that into what does that look like living? Because remember, it doesn't matter if we have a moment of beautiful words here. What are we going to do with it? How would you take this beautiful thing and alter your body through how you're living on the other side of listening to this, on the other side of letting a song? And I also want to point out that a song written by who knows what she was going through when she wrote it, right? How that is medicine for us in this moment. How you interpret your life can be medicine, not just for you, but for other people. How you alchemize what you go through is your very unique contribution to life. And, you know, I've had a conversation before with somebody, and, their statement was like, everything that's ever been said is already said, and there's no unique thought, and there's, you don't need to write a book because everything, it's already out there. And I was like, yeah, but nobody's experienced life the same. And we are all doing the same thing, experiencing the same things, talking about the same things, coming upon the same truths. But the brilliance of the song is how unique and distinct the notes are. And to think that you could play a song without, if you only had one note, what kind of song would that be? It wouldn't be a song, it'd be a note. So the point is how individual, how unique, how unrepeatable your note is as a human being on this planet. But in order to do that, you've got to find a way to live in a way that keeps you well. And remember, healing is a promise. It's not a transaction. You don't bribe your body into healing. Your body shows you the truth about the life that you're living. And it's not doing it to sabotage you, to punish you, to hurt you. I put up that video that was on my heart, I think over a year ago. It breaks my heart to hear so many people think that they're healing through what they're healing through because they somehow messed up in life, or they didn't handle a trauma appropriately, or they didn't handle their childhood appropriately, or they didn't make the right decisions as an adult, or they didn't pick the right career, or they didn't. It's none of that. Life is an active, living thing. It's alive, it's vibrant, it's changing. Everything touches and everything changes everything. And it's all one big, beautiful song. But your note is essential, and in order for your note to be played, it's got to be just you. And so you can't go and latch on to goodness and rightness, and you've got to latch on to truth. And that's the centerpiece of this medicine, is when you live how I talk about the rules, and you live a life like this, knowing that every part of it medicates you. You look at it all differently. You interface with it all differently. You dance with it all differently, and it all matters. None of it is insignificant. This moment right here is medicating you. If I'm annoying you, you're getting that chemistry. If I'm inspiring you, you're getting that. If you're half listening to me, half not, you're getting half of what you're getting from me and half of what you're getting from someone else. When my adorable little puppy and kitty walk across the screen, if you hate them, you get that. If you love them, you get that. That's the brilliance of it all. That's why there can't be a protocol. There can't be an algorithm. It doesn't matter what words you've been given, what diagnosis there is. There are patterns within people, but there is no human being that ever fits into an algorithm. And that's really what even pushed me here as a practitioner, was it didn't work. It didn't work. One thing that made somebody happy made somebody else scared. One thing in a relationship that made somebody feel like they belonged made somebody feel like they were rejected. So then how do we figure it all out? Well, you've got to know you. And that's the whole point. You don't need the practitioner. You don't need the school of thought. You don't need the chart, the graph. You need to have the courage to have the stillness, to have the understanding and the desire and the curiosity to figure out what's going on in your own heart. And again, to look at it all as not this is good and this is bad. Is north good and south is bad? Or south is good and north is bad? It depends on where you come from, what you call home. So if you can look at life like this, I think you'll start maybe understanding your life as your medicine in a totally different way. Remember, it's literal, and then it's omnidirectional in its meaning when you really start going into it. There's a literal component, there's a poetic component, and there is this metaphysical component that when you follow it, it's going to take you to places that you could never get just with the literal, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to follow the rules, I'm going to stay away from this, I'm going to be good, I'm going to do good, I'm going to eat healthy. That is only going to get a physical body so far, because you're not just composed of those inputs. You've got a heart, you've got a soul, you've got a family, you've got something about you that's literally never been seen on this planet before. And again, I've tried to echo this over and over again. It's as unique as your thumbprint. And then when you figure out that your heartbeat is a song that will never be heard on this planet again, think about it. And then we're saying we're going to heal people by putting them in algorithms, putting them in patterns of sameness to find their wholeness. That doesn't make any sense. You've got to let information guide you, and then you've got to have the courage to go off on your own and figure out what swimming is like for you. You can learn about it all day long, but learning about swimming and actually figuring out swimming and figuring out how your body swims best is two totally different things. And the difference is the difference between a life lived fully, experienced fully, and a life that is diluted, suppressed, and spent just micromanaging and manipulating your way into kind of feeling okay and making sure nothing pushes your buttons and nothing disturbs you and nothing challenges you and nothing ever, ever, ever hurts you. But again, if you can listen to those lyrics one more time, we're going to say it 1,000,000 times in this video because it's so profound. If you could look at pain, if you could look at failure, if you could look at challenge with the detachment that you look at north, would you navigate through those seasons? Would you navigate through that part of that path differently? Would you feel it differently? Would you interpret it differently? Would you digest it differently? Would you actually digest it? Because, we talk about it in nutrition, but it happens in life too. All of these things parallel. All of these things mirror each other. That's the brilliance of a truth. It's not just that we're not digesting food, we're not digesting life. And we're not digesting life just the same reason why we're not digesting food. And so when you start really seeing both of those things, it clicks. And then it's not, I'm going to rage against a life that challenges me. I'm going to rage against these emotions. I'm going to rage against anything that hurts me or anything that pushes my buttons. You pause and you flip it around and be like, push my buttons. Because if there's a button to be pushed, there's something to be set free. Set me free. But how do you set yourself free? Is you've got to be willing. You've got to be courageous enough to go through it. And that's, again, us not digesting life. Is I don't want to go through it. I don't want to feel what this feels like. I don't want to experience the discomfort of this. And that's just as absurd. Again, not saying that we are. This is how we're conditioned. But think about it again in this little bubble. It's just as absurd as being like, I never want to go north in life. I'm never, ever, for my whole time on this planet, I'm never going to go north. But sometimes you're going to have to. And it's not wrong, and it's not bad, and it's not because you messed up, and it's not because you screwed up, and it sure as heck is not because you can't ever go west or east or south. It's because it's part of the deal. And then how are you going to go through that part of the journey when you have to go north, when you have to have pain, when you have to have, I actually, like, even, I would say now with this level of thinking, we would redefine what a failure is. Like, we wouldn't even use that word, right? Language is so important, and I sometimes want to go into a little world where I get to redefine all the words, and then we get to use them appropriately so that we can understand it through a truthful lens, and not this lens of everything has been hijacked to make you feel less, to make you judge, to make you compare, to make you make your decisions based off of what's going to keep you the most comfortable, which is going to keep you the furthest away from life, which is going to keep your body the furthest away from health and vitality. Because your body has to have living. A body that doesn't live atrophies in every possible way you can imagine. A body that rages against what happens in life has to have the inflammation that's required to sustain it. And so you're raging against a body saying, hey, I wouldn't have to do this if you were okay with sometimes going north. And if you could manage yourself while we went north for a few miles. Think about it. Really feel it, and know that it's not that you've ever done anything wrong, but it's that we've got to, we talk all the time too, because this has been popping up a lot. We know that our minds have been compromised through society, through all of just the junk. We know that our minds are compromised, but we run to our minds anytime we are going through any type of pain, turmoil, discomfort, anything like that. We run to the mind for safety. And most of you here are highly intelligent, high, just intellectuals. And so you run to the mind even more, and you try to go learn yourself out of the discomfort that you're in, and this perpetuates this whole entire problem. So we've got to touch the poetry, and we've got to know that the poetry is just as important as the practicality. You can't be drinking 17 shots of tequila, not eating anything, and being super positive and managing your relationships and emotions and think that you're going to have it in the bag. You're probably going to have it in the bag more than somebody doing the alternative, unfortunately. But the totality of it, can you do both? Why not do both? Follow those rules. Understand how your body actually works. Implement it like you care. Implement it like it matters to you. And then spend all of the rest of the energy that comes from you not breaking those rules in, okay, life, let's go. Bring me all the north. My personality sometimes is like, okay, I'm going to go north until this thing is out. Show me every time I need to go north, right? And let it push me. Let it show me where peace is not in my circulation. Let it show me where some part of me is still owned by something that has nothing to do with me, where I'm making decisions based off of something that's not even here. I'm responding based off of something that I've created here, right? And then you get into this life, and again, you're like, let's go. North is not bad, and south is not bad. East is not bad, and neither is west. And a life means you're going to have some constellation of every type of direction that we don't even have names for, right? We just try to make it super simple, north, south, east, west. Well, it's all of it. And spins and upside downs and all these different directions that we don't have names for, and that is your life. And then how can you realize what you're in, and how can you live this game, play this game beautifully? Truthfully, go find the pieces of you that you had to hide. Go find the pieces of you that you had to suppress. Go find the pieces of you that you had to neglect in order to have what you thought you needed, right? And this is the dance. And this song touched it more beautifully than any scientific book I've read, and I have read them all, it seems like. And so how cool is it that life could echo this into your spirit if you were available for it? A song, lyrics in a chorus could hit something in you that said, what if? And what if what's going on here with everything that I know, if I didn't have access to any more information past this moment, with everything that I know and with everything that I can observe and with every experiment that I could do on my own skin. What is true? Not what is a right answer according to some premise in a book, but what is true? What is true? What is true? What is true? And what is true is, again, just like why is the chorus in the song hitting so hard? Because it's true, right? And those of you that are just joining, I found a song found me today. A little cosmic link found me today, and that's why I pivoted here, and we're not doing our typical Q&A, but I will answer some of your questions if you have some that fit this conversation, but this is where I want to stay today. And we can add in some of the practicality in it too, but I wanted to be here and feel here just because of what I feel people going through, what I'm going through, and the power behind something like this, how this could actually be a life-changing hour, a life-changing sentence if you would have let it. If you do something with what you're given, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to change tomorrow with this thinking if it hit? Are you going to run to your mind tomorrow, or are you going to hear what your mind says and be like, actually, I can't trust you just yet? Why? Because I know that you're compromised, and I know that I filled you with so much information. It's just a mess up there. And then this is going to start leading you into truth. And you don't have to be an expert in anything. You don't have to be an expert in anything. It's almost better if you're not. Because it will lead you to where you need to go, which is going to be very different than where I need to go, which is going to be very different than a friend needs to go, your cousin, your uncle, your daughter, your son, whatever. It's going to be very different. Okay, so I see a lot of people asking for the song. The song is Just Like North by Angie McMahon, and we have just been diving into the lyrics because they're beautiful. But I would encourage you to go listen to this song. If you're like me, you're going to binge it 15 times in a row and just let it go to places that it needs to go in your heart and your soul. But the lyrics, again, I'm just going to keep reading them for those of you that are just showing up. Where we're kind of having a conversation around is this part of the chorus where it says, failure is on every map, just like North is. Failure is in every year, just like August. And then this next part I love too. You had to be ugly before you were gorgeous. And that, again, I think is, so many people would translate that differently, but how I heard it was just like what I experienced with healing. It was specifically with what I got to see visually with cancers. And what you see, I have one testimony still up. I quit posting testimonies for another conversation. But when you watch cancer heal in a true way, without manipulating it, but doing what the body needs to transform itself back to its most optimal state, which means no longer having any identifiable cancer cells in that area. When you watch it, it is ugly. Healing is ugly in the most impeccable, perfect, beautiful way. And if you can't have the courage to go through the ugly, you will never get to the gorgeous. And again, this has nothing to do with physical appearance, but even just watching what is demonstrated in human tissues. When you look at it, it's disorganized, it's lumpy, it's bumpy, it's angry. And you have to let it literally start consuming itself. And think about that. If you haven't experienced that condition, have you experienced that in your emotions? Have you experienced that going up against your mind? Can you handle what it feels like to get ugly? Can you be courageous enough to live through that segment of time that's going to feel ugly, that's going to feel like everything is messy, everything is gross, your mess is just out for everyone to see, especially those that you want to hide it from the most? Do you have the courage to go through that, to let it move out of you, from tissue to heart to soul to spirit to DNA? What needs to be moved out? Do you have the courage? Do you have the capacity to endure what it feels like, to go through the ugly, to get to the gorgeous? And again, it has nothing to do with a societal view of what is attractive. That is not the conversation here. It is the feeling of that. It is that will be demonstrated in your tissues. It will be felt, it will be experienced, and it will flavor everything that you interact with, everything that you touch, every word that you say, everything that you experience. Because when you change, it all changes. That's what I mean by that. You alter everything, from the food you eat, from the light that hits you. You have a say in everything that impacts you. And when you realize that, you become more empowered, and then you become, if you let yourself, an active participant in having a say in how this thing goes moving forward. And that's when you really start changing your life. But if you are healing anything, you have to know, and you have to hold your heart, and you have to hold your body. And any of you that have had to heal skin, that was my journey, over and over and over and over again, right? Can you go through what it feels like to go through, letting everything be expressed and pushed out, and how ugly that feels, and how ugly it seems, and how ugly the process of healing. Like if you're looking at it without vision, if you're looking at it without sight, if you're looking at it without truth, it's ugly. If you're looking at it with wisdom, if you're looking at it with truth, if you're looking at it with true vision and understanding, it's beautiful, it's impeccable, and it's messy. And the difference, when you grasp this, it will change everything for you. And when you've done this with your physical body, use that same blueprint and go into the emotions. Use that same blueprint and then go into the mind. Use that same blueprint and go into your relationships, because it's going to mirror it all. And if you don't have the courage to go through the ugly of healing a physical body, it's going to be hard, one, to keep that body well and in the condition that you want it to stay, because it's got to reflect the totality of the experience of your life. But it's also going to be really hard to start doing that in your own mind, in your own heart, in your own relationships. Think about relationships. How hard is it to be ugly, messy, hurt, insecure, awkward in front of the person that you care about the most, in front of the people that you love the most? It's so hard. But when you have the courage to do that, when you let yourself, and when we talk about grit, that's one thing that people don't understand. When I use grit in the medicine that I use, grit is not how much can you push through something, how much can you restrict, and how long can you stay on the hard diet, and how much can you push your physical body. It's, can you be gritty in the moments where every part of you wants to run? Can you hold your own and let yourself be ugly in a moment where everything about you just wants to be beautiful? Do you have the grit? Do you have the courage to do that? To go find that vulnerability, to let it show you windows of access into your authenticity, and to still live a life where you have the courage to do all of it, and to let life show you the truth about what it actually is, instead of trying to force life into something that you think it is. Again, can you imagine growing up and being told that north was wrong and bad people went north, right? You would never want to go north. And then if you accidentally ever went north and you're like, it's actually kind of nice up here, it's cool, and the light's different, and that's just like everything else we've got, especially when it comes to the human body, especially when it comes to healing. So use these things. If something's pushing you emotionally, use it, learn from it, then apply those same truths to other places. Those of you that have worked with me, I think a couple of you are here too. Sometimes I see y'all. If y'all ever want to chime in, put your little story in, you can. But a lot of people I've worked with, we've gotten the physical body, because the physical body is easy to change, right? That doesn't mean it doesn't require difficult and intentional effort, two totally different things. But it's very responsive, just like you can manipulate it with anything, right? It's very responsive. It's probably the more appropriate way to say that. So when you get the physical body where you want it, everyone's like, they think that that's the end, and that's just the beginning. Because then you've got a clean compass, if you will, that's going to start saying, now let's clean up the real mess. Now let's clean up the mess that got us in the mess. And that's the stuff that we shy away from more. That's the stuff that pushes us harder. That's the stuff that hurts a little bit more, a lot more actually, because if it didn't, we would have already handled it. If it didn't, we would have already, stared that beast in the eyes and said no more, right? So there's this dance to it, and you've got to have, that's why all of it is so important. You've got to have the energy. That's why I talk about that in all of my master classes. You do have to have the physiological energy to fuel even the psychology and the emotionality that is going to be required to go and do this other work, right? Knowing that that's actually what's mirroring into this physical body, okay? So, don't want to go too far into that because I wanted to keep today a little bit more poetic. But sometimes the poetry hits, right? Just like life. So I'm going to kind of skim back through. For those of you coming, this will be saved. I will put it up on YouTube. And we're just have a little bit of a different vibe. If you're on my subscription page, you're used to this vibe. And I'm actually surprised that my little fuzzy minions haven't come into the picture. Somebody joined. Hi, you. All right, I'm going to go back and kind of read through. This is such an important conversation. If you don't hear anything I've ever put up on this page, but you hear this, you're going to take away something that will change your life. All right. So some of these more specific questions, we can do a conversation on skin. That is a big conversation. A huge conversation, actually. I love that. So those of you where English is your second language, I actually was going to have that as another whole conversation. My boyfriend is from Mexico, and his primary language is not English. And so even in our communication, it's very intentional, and it's been very impactful in how I even look at how literal the body is and how we are the translator of the language of the body. So I think maybe that could be another discussion, but I love that you're here, and I love that even though English is not your first language, you're here and you're trying to understand these things. And I'm currently learning more languages too. Oh, I'm so glad. So yeah, we'll go into the language of the body and more of that conversation. Maybe in another one, because I think it's a big conversation, and it's really, I've been writing a lot about it just because of my personal experience and some epiphanies that I've had, again, with relating and learning this language again, and how it translates. My brain's always going to do that, right? To the body, and the body speaking to us. So I think we just do that as maybe a standalone, if y'all are okay with that. So how did that song find me? So I went to the ocean this morning with my boyfriend just to watch the ocean and have some coffee. And then I walked back and I like to just like listen to little tugs. That's why I'm so in love with Cosmic Winks, because I feel like everything is always speaking to us. And we have to be willing to listen, and then we have to be willing to act on what we hear, no matter how subtle, to cross paths with some of these winks. And so I like to put in, the exercise, because a lot of people are like, well, I never hear these things. I never get compelled to go do this and that. Well, it's still a muscle, right? It is something that's already in your body, just like everyone has been given muscles. So you're given this, but if you don't ever use it, it's going to be weak. So it's not gone. It's just weak. And so in order to flex that muscle, you've got to go do what is required to engage it. And so what that looks like for something like your intuition, or that conversation between you and the metaphysical world that you live in, is to go and have times of being silent, and to listening, and to paying attention, and to not be in this inner chatter and trying to fix and learn and be fearful and try to fix your fear with more learning, but to be in silence, to be in times of being out in nature is my favorite time. But it happens even if you're not, no matter where you're at. If you're in New York City, or if you're in, wherever you're at, you can still have this conversation with the world that you're in, but it requires you to be attentive in a way that most of us are not. And I use the example all the time, like, if a kid was trying to get your attention, but you had noise canceling, the headsets and all of this other stuff going on, and the goggles and virtual reality, everything, how easy would it be to hear a kid, right? It would be pretty difficult, even with an actual human beside you. So something that's even more subtle, that is even more washed out than an actual person beside you, you're going to have to give it the level of intention to access that capacity within you. And it's a very playful thing. So I don't like to be too serious with it, because life is a playful thing. And so if you're trying to serious your way into a cosmic wink, there's a better way to go about it, right? And it can be more beautiful. It can be more playful. I've realized that I don't drink. I don't hydrate my voice when I do these, so I'm trying to do better with that. So what I like to do is, just like this morning, as I like to just act on, when I feel a hit in my heart, in my spirit, or in my gut, or whatever you want to call it, I act on it and I listen to it. And but I've spent a lot of time doing that. And I was kind of wired that way as a kid. I grew up on a farm. And I think just growing up on a farm, you're in conversation with those elements a little bit more. But again, you can access these same things. I've met very intuitive people that, again, have lived city life their whole entire life. And it's possible no matter where you're at. So my morning example to answer that question was just, feeling like I didn't want to walk on the street this morning. I wanted to actually be by the ocean, feel the sand, kind of feel the coolness of the morning. It just felt really sweet. And that kind of was dictating my movement today of what, not I'm going to go and I'm going to go get steps in and I'm going to go ground and I'm going to go get sunlight and I'm going to go, but to let the softness kind of hold me and lead me while I was still, had intention and things I needed to get done today. And so it was in that softness of the morning, and I was actually texting and then was just clearing off the screen, and then how Pandora in the background can update sometimes, and then it was a new release, and so I was just like, oh, and then clicked on it and it happened, and then I was like, the way my heart responded to it, my mind, and so then that has flavored everything. And so I also want to point out how beautiful that is, and how every action you take can alter the course of your day. Listening to a song changed a feeling in my heart, inspired this today with you. And if this hits for any of you, how cool is it that me acting on something from my heart could maybe impact your day today, if you're here and if you've given time to listen, and if you've heard maybe or tried to hear what it is that I'm trying to convey, or even if you go and listen to this song and let it speak to you in a way that only you will be able to hear, right? But that's part of the beauty of this Your Life is Your Medicine truth of, if I wouldn't have done that today, I wouldn't be in this vibration, this frequency on this topic with you here today. And if this changes your life today and it changes your mood, or it even gives you something that you could give a friend struggling, or that you could, how much is the fabric and the dance of life just touching everywhere? And when we choose, right, you could choose to be I could have made a million different choices based off of what I was going through this morning, what was pulsing through my heart, and the stuff that I'm being challenged by right now. But it's in the choosing. And that's where I think we're an active participant in this. Yes, I could have, done this because I always do it this way. I could have done this because of time. But to have, again, there's a practical and there's a poetic. And when you learn how to braid those two, I think we get to really touch the beauty of this life. And then you see how you are an integral part. Because even if only one person here is changed because of what I experienced today, it's worth it. one. Even if it just made you be like, oh. What if I stole your attention away from something that was going to make your heart clench? Then it's worth it. What if it stole your attention away from something that broke your heart earlier today and is going to give your biochemistry maybe 60 minutes of peace, 60 minutes of rest psychologically, right? Which then will let your emotions have a rest, which then will change your blood, which then will touch your tissues. So then we just did an hour of something that you wouldn't have gotten had I not walked to the ocean, stayed in the cool breeze, and given myself time to be, and then let life, and even her, who knows why she wrote this song, maybe we'll find out, and why it was chosen to be released today. And you know, there's just so much beauty to life. And how often are we even, this is here even if we don't dance with it. It's here. Like these beautiful synchronicities, these miracles, these moments that are so undeniably for you. And again, what if we zoomed out and saw it all that way? Just like, again, that quote that David White said, life is going to break your heart. And again, I know that if my squishy heart could have known that, like, this is part of it. It's not that you did anything wrong. It's that life has to break your heart. Why? That's a different conversation. But if we know that the pain is part of it, that symptoms are part of it, and that the part of it is for you. The symptoms are the healing. How beautiful is that when you finally grasp that and can look at it literally and then be like, well, if symptoms are the healing, and what are symptoms showing up in a relationship? What are symptoms showing up, and does that mean it was breaking apart, or does that mean that we were fortifying it and healing it and making it stronger? Well, it depends. It depends on how you look at it, and depends on how you engage with it, and depends on how you walk with it moving forward. And that's where we get to play. And that's the beauty of this life, I think. And to know that all of this is around you. And it's not just like one moment that you can miss. It's a million moments just waiting for you. Being like, is she gonna look? Is she gonna listen? Is she gonna look at this? Is she gonna listen to this? Is he gonna look at this? Is he gonna follow that? Or are they going to be so in their mind trying to fix their fear, their anxiety, their feelings through learning, through social media, through synthetic dopamine hits, through all these other things, that we can't be in life when life has the medicine, the devices don't, right? But again, when you're in life and you have a device, the device can be part of the medicine too. Do you see how there's a difference? Not when you're in the device wanting to have a life, but when you're in life and you happen to have a device, right? These devices aren't the problem. How we're using them is the problem. They're a beautiful gift. Like I said, one of the most profound moments for me, one, is that we have the ability to be all over the world right now. So everywhere that y'all put when y'all were coming in and saying hi, and I get to be in San Diego, and you get to be in your home, and we get to be in a space like this, that's magic. That's magic. Can you imagine telling somebody that, like, 100 years ago? They'd be like, or even less, right? It sounds like magic. There's no way. And so it's not these things that are the problem. It's how we're using them, or how we're letting them use us, or how we're trying to use them as another form of anesthesia, or a replacement to not handle the other stuff. Again, not because you're wrong, but because that's how we've been told to manage life, right? All right. So I'm going to be very mindful of time again today. Sometimes when we go, we go. I have no chill sometimes. All the time. I have no chill all the time. All right. Aren't we powerful? Do you feel that for half a second? If we could have somebody come and like grab our faces in moments of feeling small and feeling like the pain is too much and everything is too much. Can you like imagine? I try to do it to myself, like grab my face and be like, don't you dare forget who you are. Don't you dare forget everything that had to happen. All of the people that had to fall in love for you to get to be here. All the people that had to survive really hard things so that the miracle that is you, that could exist here with all that we have. Like, and to look at all that you have. And just, it literally, when you can see it, it really changes how you feel about everything. It doesn't mean hard things don't happen. Remember, it's just like north. North is on every map. All right. So there's some other, I'm going to go into relationships more. Again, that's a huge topic. So many components. I think we need to do mind first, because when you start understanding the mind, it makes understanding relationships better, because you've got to understand you before you try to understand anybody else. And we've got it kind of backwards. We try to understand how to manipulate and manage others to, again, manipulate a scenario to be okay with us. And when you can flip it around and you can understand how your own mind works and why it works the way it works, and even the negative stuff that everyone's trying to retrain and program out of it, when you see that there's a purpose to it, again, it doesn't just change how you see you, but it changes how you see others. It doesn't mean there's not going to still be conflict. Conflict is, again, another north, a very essential part of autonomy, individuality, and connection and attachment. It's essential for it. But you have to put the mind in a true position, in my opinion, before you can look at relating any type of relationship. And so I think we're going to go into the mind, and then we could piggyback off of the mind and then go into relationships, if that works for you guys. But y'all can give me feedback underneath this when I put it back up. All right. Looks like skin is a big one that we want to go into too. All right. I love so many of you English as your second language. I love that. And I think trying to use language in a true sense makes it to where it translates in, it's not easy, in a more succinct, precise way. So thank you for saying that. I love that. And I think too, as I learn new languages too, maybe I can find, but I just don't know if I could ever use the beauty of some of these languages like you native speakers can. I wish I knew all the language. If I could have like a superpower, that would be one, to speak every language fluently, especially all the like romantic ones. I'm so obsessed. I love that. So the question about why doctors are still in fear with symptoms, when we go to school, we're all taught the same. And a big sadness that came up in me was when I realized that natural medicine, though it had a little bit more access points to truth, it was all still coming from the same source in order to be recognized, at least within the United States. So it's not the people. It's literally because I came from that same indoctrination type thought. Like if you go back, I have a video. I think it's titled "I Fell for It Too," kind of giving you the background of me, because I started out in allopathic. And then transitioned into integrative, and then transitioned into natural, and then when natural was just being the green version of allopathic, it kind of broke my heart and frustrated me a little bit, and so then I went off kind of on my own to try to figure out what was true, because there were just so many holes and so many things that didn't make sense, and my brain likes for things to make sense. And then I love results. I like to do something and see that it works. So those were the two things that kind of governed how I even got to this type of medicine. So everything that you find in those master classes came from that way of thinking. Came from, okay, well, if the body works this way, but we're teaching people this way, no wonder we're not getting results. So it wasn't that I came across a whole new anything. It was that I used the practicality of what science actually says and what you can observe in the human body, and it works because that's how the body works. But it's like we studied the body, found out how it worked, and then worked against it. And so that's where I kept finding these like conflict points of like, okay, but it doesn't matter how healthy their diet is if the person is in a state where they should never eat food. Why are we not talking about that? And again, it's not this other conversation, it's just a very practical thing. And so even when you're stressed out, there's ways to navigate it, break the rules intelligently, right? Like I talk about in that class. And so that's when you start being like, oh my gosh, this body is so badass because it's had to clean up the mess of me breaking rules like a maniac. And so it brings this like peace, right, back in, and you will never be in a position, even if you have only Twinkies available as a food source, to be like, I can't make this medicine. Yeah, you can, and there's like a million different ways to do it. And when you figure out those ways, you're like, oh my gosh, let's just make this fun. And so it frees you. And again, I can't stress it enough. If there's any type of medicine that doesn't free you, it's not true medicine. So you've got to be adamant for yourself, for your life, for your spirit and your soul and your one experience here, if you want, right? Again, there's nothing wrong with living life however you want to do it. As long as it's in alignment with what you want, what you believe, and what you say that you desire in this life. But freedom, there's a component of the human being within the psyche, within the spirit, that its most vibrant expression even in the tissues requires true freedom. And that was one thing that I just never lined up with any of these other modalities within medicine, was that it doesn't make them free. It makes them need a supplement. It makes them need enzymes. It makes them need bitters. It makes them need herbs. It makes them need, instead of, you have it all, you don't need any of it. You just need to know how you work, and then you can use all of it. That's such a different way to go about it. It's not, I need everything to make this thing work. It's, I need to understand how this thing works, and then I can use anything. That's freedom. Freedom is not limitation and restriction and fear of everything. It's the opposite. It's, I could find a way to make anything medicine because I understand how this thing works. And then I've put into practice the utilization of my faculties in a way where I get an outcome that I desire. I use science to benefit me instead of use science to benefit a business, right? There's a lot of brilliant science coming out, but nobody's actually using it in a direction that has anything to do with setting people free, right? Again, I don't think it's because, that's a different conversation. I'm not going to speak on that just yet. All right. How did I meet? So I have a little bit of my story with him on my subscription page. That's a big question. How did I meet him, and what was I captured by? That's a big conversation, and I love it so much. But it's a different place. Probably not for this space. Yeah, do it. I think so the comment that I'm reading right here is, you've opened my mind to dating, people that speak different languages. But I would say, don't just, not even just that, but we are if you only stick with, again, we've talked about this on my subscription page, sameness, you're missing out on just so much magnificence and so many things that can open you up and touch places in you and show you things that you've never experienced. And there's a reason that difference creates deliciousness, right? There's a reason why flavors create richness. And so if you're somebody who, doesn't really branch out, I would say go and experience as much as you can in this life, and let it be medicine. People, languages, experiences, cuisines, different types of music. Go and taste life. And then, like, when you want to go and like try to find safety in your device by learning something in science that's going to be used against you by the end of the document or the video, I would use that time to go maybe find a new restaurant you've never been to and order something off of the menu that you've never tasted, and see if you can't find a new favorite flavor, right? A new favorite feeling, a new favorite genre, a new favorite, like, I love it so much. I love, like, new things. Like, there's just something that is electric about, I've never been here before. I've never heard this before. I've never tasted this before. There's such magic and medicine in, being in those. But it goes into another conversation of, safety. And I think that's another conversation we could have here sometime. All right. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up here today because this was just what it is. But I'm going to read those lyrics one more time for those of you that might have not been here in the beginning. Because to say I'm obsessed, I get obsessed with these songs. I think I have another video of some lyrics by Need to Breathe. If you haven't heard that one, it's pretty far back. I might have to reshare it or something. But those lyrics hit pretty hard too. But yeah, so we're going to finish up with this, and then we're going to hop over to the subscription page and do what we do over there, a little bit more personal. Okay, so the song again, if you're just getting here, and if you've been here, at least it will be like burned into your spirit or your cells to like really go check it out and listen to it. And I hope something fantastic happens for her. I don't even know her, but I hope it like does something amazing for her. But the song is called Just Like North by Angie McMahon, and I'm going to just read it through one more time, and then we're going to wrap up on this side for today, because this is just where my heart was, and I hope it spoke to your heart. Thank you for spending this time. Let's read. This season is for going back to the sea, where nothing is certain, to rinse off old parts of me, toweling my clean skin, powerful washing away. I always want outlines. I head for the shore, beg for the road signs that I had before. But that wasn't joy, amnesia, babe, that was pain. And pain will be on every map, just like North is. And pain will be in every year, just like August. And if you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. Remember that magical thing that you found that said, from this point forth, I am sticking around. I am coming with you. I'm going to show up in your shape. Can you pick your grace out of the crowd? You've done it before and it made you so loud. Then it taught you that lesson about breathing, babe, when it failed. Failure is on every map, just like North is. Failure is in every year, just like August. You had to be ugly before you were gorgeous, balancing tiger with rhythm of tortoise. Here in your chest, chest, chest. You're not gonna blow it, 'cause slowness is calling. You don't have to know where your feet will be falling. If you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. If you get everything right, then there's nothing else left. All right, y'all have a beautiful day. Thank you for being here.